All right, today we're going to work on the candidates test, which is topic 5.5. And we've already worked with this somewhat, dealing with the extreme value theorem. Let's just take a look here at this first slide. A function that is continuous on a closed interval must assume an absolute max and an absolute minimum value in the interval. That's review. We've covered that. That's one of the main ideas of the extreme value theorem. All right, that there must be an absolute max and an absolute min if it is a closed interval. All right, those extreme values can only occur at the endpoints of the interval or at interior critical points. And that's what leads us to this idea of a candidates test. It's this idea that we need to check all the values if we have a closed interval. All right? So the extreme value theorem and the candidates test. Since there must be a maximum and a minimum value on the interval, where a function is continuous, to find them we need only search at the locations where they could occur. And the locations are the endpoints of the interval or at interior critical points, which we call the candidates. That's why this is called a candidates test. We're checking all the candidates for what could be an extrema. So, some simpler possibilities. A function that is always decreasing. If it's always decreasing, it's identifiable by noting that the derivative would always be negative on the interval. Maximum and minimum values occur at the endpoints, like here and here. All right, if this is a closed interval, this would be an absolute or global maximum. This would be an absolute or global minimum. All right, pretty basic idea on that one. A function with one interior critical point, the maximum, okay? The minimum occurs at the left endpoint. So what do we have going on here? We have a critical point right here, all right? We know that the slope of the tangent line there would be 0. This is a maximum, and that is an absolute max, all right? If this is a closed interval, like so, this would be a local minimum. Over here, this would be the absolute minimum. All right? A little bit more complicated possibility. A function with multiple interior critical points. The candidates test is your go-to strategy to find and justify the absolute extrema. When you've got some crazy function like this that has a whole bunch of junk going on and all kinds of possibilities, the candidates test just kind of cleans it up because we can check this endpoint, check this endpoint. So we want to check here, check here, and then we want to check all these other places. Check there, check here, check here, and check there to find the absolute. Again, we're looking for the absolute extrema. All right, so in this particular problem, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candidates to check. All right, to see which ones are the absolute maximum and minimum. So, how to find absolute extrema? 1, 2, 3. Here's a little process for you. Find all the critical points. How do we find critical points? Remember, we're looking for where is f prime of x equal to 0? And we are also looking where f of x, we're looking for places where maybe it's not differentiable. And of course, we're thinking about things like a cusp or something like this. All right. So those are the kind of critical points that we are looking for. Then we want to list the critical points and endpoints in a table. And then we want to evaluate the function at all of those points and select the answer. Now notice, when we do this, when we're actually evaluating, we're looking at the original function. Okay, we're not using derivative values to do this, we're using the original function to do this. Okay? So, applying the candidates test, just kind of a quick little idea. All right, a continuous function, f of x on the closed interval, notice we're closed here, -5 to 6, with 2 interior critical points. All right, so if I solve f prime of x equal to 0, I get these 2 critical points, and then I check at the endpoints. Okay, this is an endpoint. This is an endpoint. And then we also check our 2 interior critical points. Critical. All right? So the process is the main thing we wanted to go over today. All right, we've already done some problems like this, but the candidates test is a specific technique that they will look for on extended response questions. They will look for evidence that you did the candidates test. Let's write that down. Note, it is important to display or show evidence of a candidates test when looking for absolute extrema. Very important that there is evidence that you have checked all of the candidates. And we will stop there for today.